Welcome to another edition of Conversations with the Artists with yours truly DJ Timeless, the show where we talk to your favorite artists around the region. We hear more about them personally, and of course we check out those top 10 songs. We hear about the writings, the touring, the jokes, all that and more right here on Conversations with the Artists. This week we head to Trinidad and Tobago for a maestro. Yes, a maestro. When you go to Trinidad, or even if you don't go to Trinidad, you know the name. You hear his music, you know who we are talking about. Even when you're discussing West Indies cricket, you cannot leave out his name in the discussion. Who are we talking about? Well, his name is Mr. David Rudder. We welcome him to the show. Greetings, sir. How are you doing?
Fine.
Great to have you. Great to have you here on Conversations with the Artists. Now, for those watching, and they may be asking, who is David Rudder?
Father, musician, painter, singer, normal people. All of that.
I like how the way you put it. Just a normal person. I like that. Where did it start for you, singing, the musical journey? Where did that start for you?
It started I grew up in a place called Belmont, which is the heart and soul of Trinidad, You know the song Trinity to the Bone?
Yes.
When people from Belmont believe that Belmont to the core. So it's even deeper than the bone, right? Down to the marrow.
Wow.
So I grew up, that was my first introduction to the world, this place called Belmont, which was like an open university campus, all the steel bands, the calypsonians, the athletes, everything you could think about, Belmont was it. So that's the kind of environment I grew up in. And I knew that I wanted to be in the arts from a very early age, so I had an advantage because, most times, as a youngster, you want to be a policeman, you want to be a fireman, you want to be a doctor. Your parents wanted to be doctor and lawyer. Yeah. Even today, that still stands. But I was glad to know that from the very beginning, I knew what I wanted to be. And that was to be an artist, performing art.
What was that reaction telling your parents that this is the path you want to take? Was there any pushback saying, no, David, you need to go and become a doctor or anything like that?
Well, I think there's always the dream that, especially being the eldest, that I should be a doctor or something like that, But funny thing is that my mother who was very strict, never complained with my dealing with music, Like she felt somehow like maybe I knew what I was going to do in this world, And so she sort of stepped back and allowed me some space, which was kind of different for the rest of the children, because Elsie didn't make joke. Yeah.
Can you remember your first performance?
Yes, it was. I went to Belmont Boys RC School, and there was a competition, and a singing competition one day, and they asked me if I said that I'm going to enter this competition, And when I stepped on the stage, I felt a great peace, a great ease, and at that moment, I knew this is what I had to do for the rest of my life. So that was very early that's how I started at the age of 9.
Wow, from the age of 9, that's a mighty long time, and at a very young age to know in yourself that this is the path. Along the way, you would have, have the support of your moms. You said your mom was a very strict lady, being the eldest. What was it like growing up with your other siblings and taking that path of music?
It was. I think everyone got it easy, because two of my brothers are very good pan players. They play for a lot of the steel bands around Belmont, St. James, Woodbrook, all these areas, all the steel bands, Invaders, Starlift, so on. So there is a bit of music in the family, but not as much as I have contributed, And my youngest sibling, my sister, Charmaine, she's a lawyer, so the doctor lawyer thing is covered.
So somebody in there still brought it back
Somebody
to the traditional.
represented there. Yes.
Growing into your community and growing into being the artist that you are today, how was that like? What was the community like? What was were they backing you, supporting you as well?
Yes, once they realized that I was serious, and like Belmont, right around the corner, 2 minutes away from where I lived, less than that actually, about a minute away, there was the Syndicate Steel Orchestra. Over the fence was the Dixieland Steel Orchestra. Then there was the Sunland Steel Orchestra.
Wow.
Right, we had Lord Beginner right on the corner, 10 seconds away from where I lived. The Great Calypso and the Lord Beginner. And then there was the Shango Yards, which is African, it's African worship form. And then there was the Arada Yard, which is another version of the same thing. Let's say the Shango was Catholic, the Arada was like Anglican. But so we grew up with Shango and Oshun and Obatala, Eshu, Shapana, and all these African deities and so on, And you hear a lot of it in my music. When I talk about Bahia Girl, that connection, Ileife, Ileife. Ileife is like the Vatican, Rome, to the Yoruba people. It's like the holy city, like holy place,
Wow.
So that connection, all these things influenced who I became. And then there's the all-conquering block. Every corner in Belmont, there's a block where you go, and every evening you hang out with your friends, you discuss politics, music, everything that you can think about passes on the block, So everywhere there's always knowledge being passed down, shared, we had some of the finest madmen in the town, I have a strange way of communicating with them. So I had a lot of times I'd be saying 2 o'clock in the morning with a madman discussing life, So it was that kind of place where it triggered so many magical things in your brain, So when you hear my songs on it, and you say, how did you come up with that? Those were the days when we had the block, the steel bands, the conversations with the madmen, and everything else. All the mass players, the big mass bands, Saldana, Ken Morris, Jason Griffith, all these guys who made Carnival what it is today. They all come out of Belmont at some point in time, And
so surrounded by music, information, all help.
Information, and then there was a part of Belmont that had a lot of the intellectual people. I remember, they would have people like Derek Walcott. He still has he rests his soul. His theater workshop is still in Belmont, So there's a lot of people who pass through through the intellectual part of the society. So he had it from the intellectuals. George Lamming, the great Bayesian writer, he said that he would not be who he is today unless if he didn't pass through Belmont. He was part of that literary group, So that's the kind of place you're talking about. I've never seen anywhere like it before, since. I don't think I'll ever see it until I leave here.
You started as a solo artist, then you joined the brass band, Charlie's Roots, the brass band Charlie's Roots. Talk about that journey, moving into a band atmosphere.
Well, that was like 20 years apart. When I started, after my group, The Solutions, disbanded back in the mid to late 60s. I was doing a lot of like Richie Havens, that kind of folk, just with my guitar and singing a lot of folk songs about life in the islands, but life anywhere, but my island vision of the same thing that you might hear Bob Dylan doing or so, So um, I s- I got into challenges by an accident actually. Tambu had lost his voice, the lead singer, and they hired me to um, to replace him until he came back. When he did come back, I just stayed with the band, and Pedam Gordon and I, we started to do songs together, you know, and that's what gave Charlie's Roots the edge, because we were the only band playing complete soca music at that time, you know. The band's name was actually Sensational Roots. It was like the Sly and Robbie of Trinidad. When
Ah,
you have a recording, you go to Charlie's Roots musicians to do the background music, and then Ralston Charles, who is a great calypso entrepreneur out in New York, he said, "Why don't you guys come out on the road?" And he bought the first big song system for us, and mixing boards and instruments, keyboards and drums and so on. So as a token of appreciation, the name of the band was Sensational Roots. And after that, we said, in honor of Charlie giving us all these things, that's how the band got to the name Charlie's Roots.
wow.
But it was purely by accident I ended up in the band.
What was that journey like? Touching, touring, being a part of a unit. What was that like?
It was good fun. We all stayed in the same place, so it was good camaraderie, and sometimes we'd stay by Charlie. So he had some apartments upstairs, the studio and the record shop. So we would just have to come through one door into the next door and put on some tracks. So it was kind of all the energy of Brooklyn passing in front of you. Some of the best songs came out at that time. As a matter of fact, even after I left Charlie's Roots, some of the best songs that I've written came out of that whole New York experience.
Wow.
Haiti
Interesting.
was one of them.
Since you talked about leaving, what happened that made you decide it is time?
Well, there's a time when you feel like you're going in a different direction. I think Roots, at the end of the day, basically was a band who played for fetes, and so it's a party band. And my creative spirit was always different. Like for example, like a song like Bahia Girl, it was kind of unconventional. So it was so strange that it actually became such a powerful song, because people were like, I kind of felt that this thing was powerful, but no one else felt that way, including the members of the band. So I think even on that creative level, I always felt that, like the separation was beginning. And that sort of kind of was the point when I realized it's at some point we'll have to kind of go in different directions. But I still use the same musicians, along with new players. And then my friend Wayne Bruno, he became kind of like my right hand man too, just as Pedam was. So it was just like a natural transition after almost 20 years.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
that's a long time together, and even although you guys are disbanded, you still connect and still
Yeah,
play
actually,
together.
the band still plays now and then. But and I play with them. But I have my own band and sound. So that's
If
how
you
that.
know if you're now joining us, welcome to Conversations with the Artists. This week, Trinidad and Tobago for the maestro, Mr. David Rudder. Again, sir, thank you so much for spending this time with us
It's
and
my
sharing
pleasure.
your story. You talked about Baha'i Girl, so let's dive into this song, the writings behind this song. Share with us.
Oh, Bahia Girl was actually written for Crazy. Crazy was looking for a producer for his album that year. So Ellis Chowlinon, who was the manager of Charlie's Roots, said, "Well, look, David Rudder here, he could write. Why don't you let him write for you?" So Crazy said, "Yeah, David, write some songs for me. Write some songs for me." But way down inside, Crazy wasn't too happy about that. So he disappeared suddenly. And the next thing we heard, he was somewhere in the United States. So I had these songs that I had started to write for him. One was called Jump Up. One was called Buy a Girl. And the other one was called Madness. Because I'm thinking about Crazy and the way he thinks and the way he moves. So he had a song called Muchacha, a Christmas song where he said, "Pilem, pilem, pim, pilem, pim, pim, pim. Hey, muchacha." He met some girl from Venezuela. So I wrote a song about Crazy meeting a girl from Brazil. This lady real lucky, she bunks up with Crazy. After he refused the song, I changed the line Crazy to Sweet Me, which was a weak line really, but at least so anyway, long and short of it, Crazy didn't take these songs. So I did Jump Up in '85, and that came third in the road march. And then '86, I won the crown with Buy a Girl and The Hammer. And Buy a Girl came like the mantra of the island,
Wow.
So and the following year I did Madness. Right? So the three songs that I wrote for Crazy became three big hits: Jump Up, Madness, and Buy a Girl. Even today, it still is like that.
I'm going to ask you, did you ever told him that these were the songs that were meant for him?
Yeah. We told him, and he had. This funny thing is, we had done a song about 7 years before called Jungle Fever, and he came back with a song called Soca Tarzan. And when I listened to this song, I said, "But Crazy, that is Jungle Fever, a weak version of Jungle Fever. So why you leave to go and bring this weak song?" And you had three big hits. Yeah, boy. I bunks my head with that. I say more than bunks the head. But I think sometimes the rhythm of life, I always believe life is a rhythm. And that the rhythm was supposed to fall in my pocket, my groove, And my one, as James Brown would say. And it wasn't for Crazy. Had I not kept those songs and redid them by myself, who knows where I'd be today,
Very true. Well, let's take in by High Girl coming on from Mr. David Rudder.
This girl from Bahia, staying in Maruga. This lady real lucky, she bumps up with Sweet Me. As a man with a plan, well I really didn't waste no time. I make up my mind tonight, this Brazilian is mine. As the music played, Lord, she started to sing to the soca beat. She put a samba swing, ding 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 ding, pim 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 baby di mama, ding 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 bamba, ding ding ding, pim 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 baby di mama, ding bang ding dobe, ding bang, pim 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 pele, pim 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 pele, pim 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 baby di mama.
Talk to me about the phrasing of the lyrics of this song.
Well, I grew up in a time where, like I say, everything was rhythm. Right? All life is rhythm. So I have a way, like today when I listen to the other young people and the way they write, they just really write dialogue and sing it. But if I'm doing a song like Madness, I jump the wall about 12 o'clock, I gone inside. Stand up there, the people fed my eye, open wide. Everybody inside there like they fighting hard. But when you watch how they face this mama, like they're going mad. So I grew up with that kind of sense of sweet rhyme, sweet. Sometimes 4 or 5 ways to say the same thing. I have to kind of decide which one I'm going with. But that's always been a part of how I create. Somebody cutting down the weed well fast. Somebody letting the cocaine pass. Somebody planning to abolish the tax. Somebody planning to give you the facts. It's always that kind of. So Bahia Girl is no different. This girl from Bahia, staying in Moruga, this lady real lucky. She bunks up with sweet me. As a man with a plan, but I really didn't waste no time. I make up my mind tonight that this Brazilian is mine. So it's always that kind of multi-rhythmic, but always on the one, as James Bond say.
Nice. You also have a story behind this song where when it was translated into Japanese, it totally meant something else.
Oh, no, that was Bacchanal Lady.
Oh, Bacchanal Lady, right.
Yeah,
right.
So I'd gone to Japan to do a couple of shows, and this reporter met me in the hotel in the morning, and he said, tell me about this song, the Foolish Woman. So I said, Foolish Woman? What are you talking about? He said, Bacchanal Woman. So somehow, like the word Bacchanal is very similar to something in Japanese that means foolish. Like,
Foolish, yeah.
So the guy was he looked a bit disappointed. but I said, sorry, it wasn't about a foolish woman. It's the opposite, actually. She's independent and strong, So
that must have shocked you, though. I mean, to hear that Bacchanal meant foolish or stupid.
Yeah. But I remember a friend of mine was telling me one day, with some rock band that gone to Japan, and something the guy said, and the entire audience lifted up pieces of 2x4 pieces of wood, because something he said sounded like raise your 2x4. It was lost in translation. But I would say that one thing though, they would translate all my lyrics into Japanese, even down to the chanting and all, very precise. It's like, it's an interesting society.
That must make you feel good to have your music, people wanting to translate your music, and not just translate your music, but I mean soul records as well.
Yeah, yes, that was you know that you're doing something. If people could tell you like, in different ways, thanks for the music, you know that you're on the right path. So, and I'm happy about that. That's my paramount joy. I mean, it's good. You want to make some money and you want to live comfortably, but just the fact that people say, "Yes, this song changed." A Japanese friend who actually lives in Trinidad now. He moved from Japan to Trinidad. When I met him, he said, "1990 changed my life."
Wow.
He said, "That's it." He went to Trinidad and he never left.
Wow.
So I see the effect that sometimes these songs have on people, and I say, well, I have to be doing something right.
Since we started the discussion on Bacchanal Lady, let's talk about the writing of this song.
Right, Bacchanal Lady is basically, Frank Sinatra had a song called "The Lady is a Tramp." She don't go to crap games with barons and earls. Don't go to Harlem and sables and pearls. She don't ditch the dirt, but not with she'll ditch the dirt, but not with the girls. That's why they say the lady's a tramp. But she's independent, she's free, she hangs out with the guys, and she's an old tramp. But there's a power behind her, that sense of independence that she has, So the Bacchanal Lady is a kind of Caribbean version of this lady. The lady's a tramp, which is really to say she's powerful, she's independent, and she'll put you in your place if you play the fool. You better come strong. Come strong, or she will take you on, and mash you up. So that's it. That's basically what the song is about.
How did the writing happen? Were you just feeling you were listening to some French Sinatra? What happened?
No, I think I all the things, all the elements kind of came together. I think I was observing a woman who was like moving free and fearless, and that intimidates a lot of men in society. There's a fear of who she thinks she is, and if you think you have money and you're big and mighty and powerful, and you think that will pull her in. She'll mix your milk with punch and rum. You're holier than thou purity. She'll throw some rum in your milk. In other words, she'll bring you back down to earth. So I remember this observance, the way certain women move, and I said, this is a different thing here. This is not the subservient, I'll do anything for you, whatever you want me to do. No.
Right.
Meet me on the same level.
Same level. Yeah.
And let me talk. And if you talk strong, you stay alive. That's what the lyric says. If you talk strong, you stay alive. Else, don't bother.
Don't bother.
No.
Well, let's take in Bacchanal Lady.
Here she comes, my Caribbean lady. Here she comes, my Caribbean baby. Hey, Dudu, what happening? Come and talk to your man a while now. You know I love you, She's everything you think she's all about, and everything you dream she'll be. She lips could bring love water to your mouth. She's a Bacchanal lady. She will infect you with her ramache, melt you like a noonday sun. Take your status symbol high away. She makes your milk with punch and rum. She's Bacchanal lady. Sweet scandal when she walk. Bacchanal lady. Real magic when she talk. Bacchanal woman. Won't you come? Won't you make some love? She in a rum and Coca-Cola girl. Don't try to fool she with no jive. If you want a breakdown in she carnival, you talk strong, you stay alive. She neither here nor there, she everywhere. Them people say she is a tramp, but when she catch them in she atmosphere, she go shame them simple scamp. She's Bacchanal lady. What it is you hide behind your eyes? Bacchanal lady.
If you're now joining us, welcome to Conversations with the Artists. Trinidad and Tobago, we are spending some time with the man, the maestro, Mr. David Rudder. We just played a Bacchanal Lady. I heard, you can hear the music, the instruments. What is it like having that kind, knowing where we are now with a lot of the music where the instruments are computer generated, but to have that, a lot of live element in your music? Let's discuss that.
Well, it's quite different as you said today, but that organic feel, a lot of young musicians now are going back to that, a lot of them have changed course and reverse, and it's good. Even in terms of the vinyl, a lot of people don't want to hear, like MP3 and all these things again. They actually want to get the vinyl.
Vinyl. So
the vinyl market is back on track, That founding natural vibration from the earth, that grounding, stepping barefoot on the grass. That is what the real life players give you, And all those songs, the thing about it is they were done on 20. Nowadays you have like 200 tracks of music, and it's songs like this, like a subwoofer and a loop,
Right.
But it's 200 and something tracks. That was 24 tracks, and sometimes we would have to be like four people on the board, pushing and pulling knobs at certain point in the song to get, and
Wow.
splicing tapes, and it was like work, but it was like an enjoyable kind of adventure. And then just as we finished the final mix, right behind the wall was the vinyl factory. So we just go back and press 500 and sell it out in the stores next morning.
Wow.
That kind of life. I grew up singing chorus in the studio with Carl Jacobs and his wife Carol and Patsy Holder. A lot of the background vocals you hear in calypsos during the 60s, 70s, was us. And sometimes we'd go in the studio on a Thursday, come out on a Sunday, but you don't even know which day it is because you're just inside there, food coming, And Arthur Decoto, who was the main arranger at that time, he would have 6 albums to do in that weekend. So we were there doing 6 albums at one time. And by Monday morning, next, and Monday morning, everybody printing their records to go to the store. You know, that's how vibrant it was at that time, you know. It's just a different scene now. Now everyone has a little computer in a room, and that's it, you know. But that old feel of just doing the thing and hearing it on the radio the next day was different. It's just different, you know.
To be able to spend that amount of time in the studio, you said, you know, you come out, you don't even know what day or two. Sometimes maybe, you know, you're not even sure what time of the day it is.
Just imagine you have 6 albums and you have 12 songs, 10 to 12 songs, right? You're talking about over 70 songs. So you singing 70 songs of background vocals, sometimes 2 or 3 layers of vocals. So, you know, it's like, it's now you look back and say, did I actually do that? You know? It's a lot of work, but it didn't feel like work because I tell people I hardly have ever worked in my life. Because I don't consider what I do work. Some people have to go to do the 9 to 5 and they don't like it, but they got to do it. That's what pays the bills, you know. But with me, that's what I came to do, you know. So it's not work, you know.
What is your writing style like? Do you sit and write lyrics, or do you just listen to what's going on in the studio and then you write some lyrics? How does it work for you?
Both ways. Sometimes I go with a melody and then put lyrics on it, or sometimes I do with a lyric and put a melody on it. It's quite. I mean, it's very easy for me in that way, you know, because it's like second nature. So sometimes I mix it, but it doesn't matter really. I listen to people on the street. I read the newspaper. I listen to the news. I check everything that's going on around me. Listen to what people have to say. Because like in Trinidad, Trinidad has some of the best poets. It's just that they don't know they're poets. You know, I didn't know. People tell me I'm a poet, but I say, well, I never know that. I didn't think what I doing was poetry, but the way, that's just the way I see things, you know. So sometimes someone would say, "You see me, I go on wine like I never christen." I said, "What did I say there? I go in long tongue Juve morning and I go on wine like I never christen," and it kind of hit me that the kind of influence the church has on the carnival, the sacred and the profane, and the, you know. To decide to do wine like you never, if you never christen, then you have a passport to do what you want.
To do what you want.
But you're going to defy all the teachings that you were taught, the things that were taught in the church. You're going to defy that and say, I'm going to wine like I never christen. And that now triggers something in my mind. And that's how the Long Time Band came about. So I wrote a whole song about this band, which is really like the old carnival was dying. And this was the last hurrah, and one of the people in this band was the Jamet, the women who came from the other side of town, or women and men, because they were diametrically opposed to the norms of popular society. So it's, instead of diamet, which was a French word, we kind of corrupt the corruption and say Jamet. But they were showing us, this is the future. This is how you really express yourself. And you know, you on your trucks, and because in those days the French Creoles would have carnival and they travel on trucks and so on. And these people were on the street whining and things. So they were kind of against what's going on in popular society, you know. Yeah. So the Jamet Enid in the second verse became the one who went to wine like she never christened. But that was the catalyst for the song itself, you know. Wow. And everything else came after that.
How many songs have you written in your career?
I don't know, a couple hundred. Yeah.
Cool, couple hundred.
Yeah, I have some that never recorded, and some that were recorded and rubbed off, and it's been crazy. But about I don't know how much. But after 20-something albums, stop counting.
So those that are unreleased, are those going to be released at any point?
I have some in my mind right now, but I can't do anything because there's a lockdown. All the studios are locked down. So once things get freed up, and I've applied for a grant to pay actual live musicians to do the work. So hopefully within the next year, you'll hear something.
We'll hold you to that, Mr. Rudder. We'll hold you to that. In 1991, 4 of your songs were included as song tracks for the film Wild Orchid. How did that come about?
Well, I was signed with Warner Brothers, Sire Warner Brothers at that time, and the person who owned that publishing house was a guy called Seymour Stein, who was at one point Madonna's agent. Sire was that was actually Madonna's label, really. When you come to think about it, she made it. What is this? Anyway, Zalman King, the producer of the movie, he done a movie with I can't remember with Mickey Rourke and what's her name. Anyway, I can't remember, but it was called 9.5 Weeks, and then he did a follow up with it in Brazil, called Wild Orchid, which was called 9.5 Weeks in Brazil, because it was the same. He explored a sexual genre style. That was his vision, was some kind of erotica. He always had erotica. He had a series on TV called The Red Shoes Diary. So he had that kind of line, But he had this. He asked for some music from a guy called Andy Paley. He was doing the soundtrack. And Andy Paley was frustrated in the office, saying, I don't know what this guy wants. I don't know what this guy wants. And the guy Zalman King was on the phone with Seymour Stein. And I walked in the studio, the office at the same time. And he said, look, David Rudder here. And it turns out, I did a song called Just for Carnival for the soundtrack. And the only song he liked was Just a Carnival. So he said, well, let David Rudder go with them and see if he can come up with something. And
Wow.
That's how we came up with the other songs.
Wow, that must be amazing.
Yeah, but the thing is, they were kind of surprised because the ease and how fast I write, So it's because within about 2 hours, we had all the songs.
Wow.
And the rest is history.
And not only did you have songs as song tracks for movies, but you've also appeared in one as well.
Yeah, the same Wild Orchid, actually. I was the movie actually ends with me on a truck with a bayana singing Just a Carnival. But and the thing about that is, it might be a piece of history, Hollywood history, because he did a film after with Martin Sheen and Ray Don Chung called Boca, and I was hearing my music again in the same music from Wild Orchid in Boca. So it's a first in probably Hollywood history where 2 movies had the same music in the background.
You also took to the screen with Sugarcane Arrows. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that
What
was
was that
written
like?
that was written by a friend of mine called Debbie Jacobs, a journalist in Trinidad. And the whole thing was, she had this idea for this story. She grew up, when she came to Trinidad, she grew up in central Trinidad, as you say, in the cane fields. So it was one of those stories about rural Trinidad. And simple people, the calypsonia and the people trying to just make life happen for themselves,
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, we never really had rehearsals for these things. We would show up on the scene. She would type a new couple pages of new dialogue, and camera on, and you go and you do your thing. And the next day, she'll come up with the next couple pages, and it turned out to be a hit because it traveled across the Caribbean and certain parts of North America. So much so that one day I was in Miami airport, and 2 Jamaican girls were sitting down next to me, and they say, "Are you David Rudder, that?" I say, "Yeah." and they watch me like if I do them something. So I say, well, did I offend you? But why you let the girl go? So they were following the story in Jamaica, and the time I made the girl, everyone was thinking that she's going to stay with David. Bolt, that's the rule. Like, she was going to stay with Bolt, and she ended up leaving on a jet plane. So they were angry with me for letting her go. Sometimes even in Trinidad, walking on the streets, I went to do some work to get some Xerox copies, and the lady wouldn't attend to me. People coming in after, and she attended to them. So I said, "Excuse me, I've come in here. Everyone is being attended to." She said, "Why you let the girl go? I don't want to know. You should leave here. I don't want to talk to you." So people take on these things. To me, it was fun, and it was like, okay, what's a new thing today? You read your page, you say, all right, let's do it, and you do your thing. But to people who are looking at it, they actually get into it to such a degree that that they forget that it's not reality. It's a take on reality. But that was fun.
David Rudder, the musician, the actor as well. I like it. I really do like it. Let's get back to some of the music and High Mass.
Yeah.
This is a very interesting song because clearly there is a message in the song, but even for those who may not believe in Christianity or have that feeling for, let's say, God or even religion, still sing this song with conviction. So let's talk about this song. Where did it start?
Well, it's like I talked earlier about living in the rhythm of life. That's my main guru. That rhythm of life is the way things happen. It happens for a reason. So when I was born, my mother baptized me as an Anglican. And then my grandmother was an African Baptist. She took me up to lead a hunt, and they did the offering up. I don't know if you remember the movie Roots, where they offered up Kunta Kinte, the same kind of ceremony. So then I became a spiritual Baptist. But when I entered primary school, Father Graham, the priest, said he cannot come into this school unless he's a Roman Catholic. So they took me and they baptized me over the third time. So I ended up in Belmont Boys RC, and I had to attend Roman Catholic Church. But the music in me I was always fascinated by in those days, the whole mass was said in Latin, not English. And I would listen to them, Father Graham and the choir singing, Dominus Verus, Dominus Veracum, Amen. It's like a drone, a Gregorian. It's called a Gregorian chant, and so I'd be lost away in this music. It didn't matter what the priest was saying or what have you, but the music. I remember even in Belmont Boys RC school, I received a gift from a teacher called Mr. Lewis. He had all the keys to the school, and I would be lost away while he's teaching his history, and I would be tapping the desk and my eyes are closed, and he stopped and he threw the bunch of keys, and I got it right here. I never forget that. But it meant that everywhere I go, even in class while he's talking, there's a rhythm around his voice. So I'm tapping, and I'm not hearing what he's saying, and he stopped, looked at me. The whole class turned and looked at me. I was the only one who didn't see that or didn't feel the vibe until I felt the bunch of keys. So it's the same thing that happened when I went to the church now. And Father Graham started it, Et cum spiritu tuo, Dominus vobiscum. And in this one note, I said, but this is it's one note, but feel this vibe, the vibe changes. It's one note, and so that song, I think at that point in time, wrote itself. So it took about 30 something years to manifest as you know, but it was basically to tell people, look, especially the Catholic people, the Catholic faith, that there's a certain fear of being too happy, or some people say the same thing about Jewish guilt. So this don't move out your crease. So the song was basically saying, listen, move out your crease. Come out on the street. You don't have to wind down to the ground and just come and celebrate life. Come and celebrate the living. Come on, and then it's funny enough, I met a young Jamaican artist called Serrani, and he just about a couple of years ago, he said, I want to meet you because High Mass have 5 hooks. No song I've ever heard in this whole world had 5 hooks. And he pointed out the 5 hooks to me, and I said, but I never knew this. I just write the song like that, but so it's taking on a life of its own every couple of years. It's just a strange thing, but it's like that song is like, sometimes I feel like it's over 1,000 years old.
Can you share with us the 5 hooks?
Oh, first he said, everybody hand raise. That was the first hook. And if you know what I mean, put up your finger. Know what I mean, put up your hand, right? And then, give Jah. That was the third one. And then, everybody come and celebrate. Yeah, that's the fourth one. And he said, ooh eh, I love my country. So every couple bars down the line, you're hearing a different hook and taking it at a different level.
Wow.
So I said, you leave me. I went home and started to think about this thing now. He said, no, but find a song that has 5 hooks in the history of music. I don't know, but he came up with that, And it was interesting that a young Jamaican artist
recognize
a different genre recognize that, That's the interesting thing about music, the beauty of music. That is it right there.
Well, let's take a listen. High Mass.
Give praise, children. Give praise. Give praise, children. Yeah. Give praise. Give praise, children. Yeah. Give praise. Give praise, children. Oh, Father, who has given us His arms that we can all feel like we're a part of His earthly heaven. Forgive us this day our daily weakness.
I know before you were talking about the Madmen and getting inspiration from the Madmen as well. I think this is the perfect time to bring in Madman's Rant. share the story behind this song.
Well, I always had, like I said before, I don't know if I'm attracted to madmen or madmen attracted to me, but I always have a way of having conversations with them, you know. And they say some profound things. They talk, say some things that they can't be. Where they get that from, you know, inside that twisted brain, some of the twists are fruitful too, you know. So it was always a view of Trinidad society and the fact that we're not as far along the road as we should have been, and in some ways we have got sort of like made a step forward and 2 steps backwards, you know. So looking for some kind of way to sort of reflect exactly what was going on in Trinidad, you know, and hearing a madman say, "This is it, I've been hit." I said, "No, but I can't quit." Hit, you know, so a very simple thing like that, you know something? The lowest man in society has found the answer to how we could turn society around. If he said don't try to give up, don't try to quit. Who am I to try to quit and give up on the society, you know? So that was the and the politics was so, but it's always been a little poisonous, but it is so poisonous then
Heated.
that I started to say, like, somebody promising this, everybody promising that, someone promising this, you know. And I'm not one of these people who like to take cheap shots at politicians, you know. They're there to do a job. Some do it well, some don't do it well, you know. But they offer themselves up. A lot of them for the love of the country. A lot of them offer themselves up for greed and so on. We understand that. But, you know, listen to the people, the promises and all the, you know, what we're going to do and what we're not going to do and so on. It just kind of get empty, you know. Yeah. So I am the everyman pointing out all the promises, and at the end of the day I'm saying, you know who found the solution to what going on there? A madman. The man who step over on the street in the night. He's the man who said, "Don't give up, don't try to quit." So deal with that, and that's the madman right there.
To recognize that this song is still relevant today must be worrying for you as a person, as an artist.
Yes, because a lot of people, that song is played a lot like it's a brand new song, you know, and a lot of people, when they realize the song is over 30 years old, you know, or almost 30 years old, and nothing can change, because if people saying, you know, that man, the way you're saying they're right, you know, and still being aired and still being discussed all these years after. If you want to know if anything changed, listen to the song. That proves that nothing much can change, you know.
Well, let's listen to the song Madman's Rant, David Rudder.
Vote for we and we will set you free. Anywhere you turn, somebody chanting to we. Somebody promising jobs for all. Some renting fun to make other people ball. But somebody promising more police cars. Somebody going to take the country far. Somebody putting all the bandits away. He said if they do the crime, they're going to damn well pay. But somebody promising a human rights, while somebody threatening to put out your lights. The Montreal full with little Trinidad boys. A bullet start to whine and put an end to the joy. Now they're lying cold for their mama to mourn. The Nike gone, the gold teeth gone. You see they want their pocket full with blue silk. They want the stock you drinking full cream milk. The little red silk is not their true friend. The blue one have two extra knots on the end. So I tag on the toes, now they take it to hell. But look where we reach, well, I hear a madman born. As he spread out on a wall, he said, this is it, this is it, this is it, I've been hit. No time to give up, brother, no time to quit. Was the chant of a madman in this tale from a strange land. The chant of the madman is the only salvation.
The chant of a madman, and we're still near 30 years after the song is released.
Yeah.
We're still fighting, and we're still going through the same things sung in this in this song. Really,
Yeah.
it's really amazing. Since we're talking about Madman's Rant, and we kind of discussed madness earlier with Crazy, let's go to this song since they're both related somewhat.
Same thing. One is a real madman, the other is walking mad. The walking mad views the mad, the genuine mad as inferior, but is everybody mad really? That's a different level, different way of insanity, different type of insanity.
Let's take it in. Madness coming on from Mr. David Rudder.
I jump the wall about 12 o'clock and I gone inside. Stand up there in the people's fed me eye, open wide. Everybody inside there like they're getting hard. But when I watch out their faces, mama, yo, like they're going mad. It must be the budget that the man from Whitehall did read. Cause all of them inside are there like they suck and crazy see. That kind of hair couldn't come from weed. This is not a fed in here, this is madness. This is not the kind of jam where you stand like a choopy begging for mercy. This is not a fed in here, this is madness. Ay, 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 ay. Everybody mad. Ay, 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 ay. Where we going? Where we going? Where we going? Why we going?
Tackling the madness from a different point of view, give you the party side of the madness.
Yeah. The fact itself is Trinidad and Tobago. So I am the observer of what's going on, the madness that's going on in society. You know, it was a time when oil had gone down to about $10 a barrel. And, you know, things were in total chaos and turmoil. And everybody started to lose their jobs, which is happening right now again.
Yeah.
You know, the oil fields closing down and this, and, you know, so, but everybody's like they're just realizing that the great leveler is here now, which is pain and suffering. You know, the girl who went to Holy Name and was working in Texaco, which is a prestige job. She and an ex-dude man. A dude man is like one of these guys the government pays to sweep the streets, and you know, and she gone with him in the Fed. So in other words, the French Creole who was the people who commanded they control the commanding heights of society at that point. Mm-hmm. Their business spaces closing down. The union men, there's nobody else in the union again because you can't pay union dues because you ain't working. So everybody kind of get leveled, right? And everybody gone mad, but they don't know they're mad. You know? So it's like, and the interesting thing is, the chorus, where we go in St. Anne's, we go in St. Anne's. St. Anne's is the place where the what we call the madhouse is. You know? When someone loses their mind, they send him to St. Anne's, where they have the best psychiatrists and so on there. The madhouse in St. Anne's, as they call it, is next to the Prime Minister's residence. So when we go in St. Anne's, it's like you're marching on the Prime Minister residence, or maybe it's not that you say. Maybe you're marching towards the madhouse to
Madhouse.
check yourself in. You know, which one is where we go in St. Anne's, but where we going? Why are we going there? We're mad. In other words, we're mad as hell and we won't take it anymore. So it could be going to the Prime Minister, or it could be going to the madhouse and saying, we're mad, so we take us in. You know.
Interesting.
So it's interesting. So it's the different dimensions of different levels of the conversation in that song, and people don't realize that you can still party to it and don't care what it means. So it covers all the different areas, and it was actually going up at that point. It was going up the BBC charts, and until someone in the BBC said the line, "That kind of head couldn't come from weed," and you cannot use a word like weed on the BBC. So that was the end of the song. But it's yeah. But it's interesting.
Very interesting, and your story alone, sir, is very, very interesting. In 1996, you were appointed a Goodwill Ambassador to the United Nations Development Program. Can you share that journey with us?
I got a call from Mr. Van Eindhoven from the Swiss Embassy, and he said, "We think what you're doing for this in your society is great, and I think we'd like to take messages to the UN and so on, and represent the Caribbean." So I said, "Well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but I'll give it a try." So the next thing you know is I'm at the UN headquarters. I remember my first morning there, and entering the UN is like entering in those days, airports were still fairly free and open, until 9/11. But what you have to go through in the airport now, you have to go through in the UN then. So I'm in the line waiting to go inside to the General Assembly, and one of the security guards telling people, take off your this, take off that, put on this, put it on the belt, please. Do not go in your shoes. So the same talking strong in New York, that New York accent and thing, and people taking off shoes and this and that, and then he says, "Hey King, it's you." It was a Trinidadian. So you go through, you pass through. So when later on in the morning, everybody shoo in. Say, we know he's a king. We're trying to find out which country he's king of. So then another one come up to me and say, "King, I just want to say thanks for everything." I said, "All right." I said, "But how much Trinidadians working here?" He said, "Plenty of we." So the people going over thinking I'm some sort of king from Africa or something, like it's like Eddie Murphy coming to America. So they say he's a king, but we can't figure out which country he's king of. And then the Trinidadians come and say, "Hey King," and give me bongs and that kind of thing, I said, but so that was my first morning at the UN. But it was a pleasure to talk about the issues in the world, especially among women, and they used to divide us up into pods, and I was so fortunate. It was Danny Glover, the actor, Dikembe Mutombo. There's an Englishman called Mark Malloch-Brown. He's not Lord Malloch-Brown. So all these people were part of that circle when we discussing how we moving forward and so on. I kind of fell into the groove pretty quickly, until as the children started to grow, I had to sort of take a side. Let me put it that way. But it was a great experience, you know. A lot of that same morning, Angelina Jolie had just joined. So you know, you're kind of mingling with all these people, and it's like there's no I am this and that, I am whoever. It's just people trying to discuss how we're moving forward, what we could do to help in our societies and someone else in another society, you know. So it was a great experience. I still do little things for them now and then, you know. If they have a seminar, I went to a seminar in Panama some time ago, but it's not. It's very heavy on the language, the conversation angle of things. You know, it brings out a lot of emotion in people. People come out. It's very intense. You know, if they could take some of that intensity that goes on in the boardrooms and so on, and get it done in a real manner.
Yeah.
But in the action, we wouldn't have that big Palestinian problem, Israeli problem right now, I believe. We would have gotten closer to something. But that's the rhythm of the world, you know. You do what you got to do, and I hope it's something sticks somewhere.
One of your biggest albums to date, Haiti, and of course, there's a track called Haiti, I'm Sorry on that album as well.
Yeah.
Let's discuss that song, why you felt you needed to write that song, produce that song, and put it out there.
Well, strangely, some of my most potent songs were written in New York. Haiti was one of them. And it was a simple incident that happened in Brooklyn. I was staying with a friend of mine, and we usually paid $3 by gypsy cab from where we were to home. And the driver was a Haitian this time, and he said $4. So I paid him the $4, and my friend said, "What are you paying him $4 for? Them they always try to get more money out of you." I said, listen, you know the history, even if that is true, you know the history of Haiti. I don't care about Haiti, what history of Haiti and thing. So that kind of triggered some idea in my head, you know. Maybe he is just one of millions of people who don't know, have a clue of what's happening. You know, just like the French Caribbean don't know what's happening in the English Caribbean, or the Spanish Caribbean don't know, you know, and so on and so on. So I said, let me write a song about Haiti, and maybe it might help to change attitudes. But little did I know it would have been so powerful. And it's still, even just now, there's a film festival in Trinidad, and someone just called me and said, I was just looking at a Haitian film, and they started by saying, "Haiti, I'm sorry, we misunderstood you." You know? So even today, as we speak, I just had that conversation with someone at the film festival. So the song is still alive, and I don't want to say going strong, because I think I would love to see that song fade away, because things would have been addressed. But it's still there because nothing much can change again. I did with them, you know. So that's the catalyst for that song. That's how that song came about.
Let's take a listen. Haiti.
In the days when black men knew their place was in the Bible.
Powerful lyrics. I know there are times when you leave the stage and not sing this song, but then there's that noise saying, "Mr. Rudder, there's something you're missing a song."
Yes, that song used to be like during the days in Trinidad fets. 1 a.m. in the morning, one between 1 and 1:30 was the best time to really go and perform, because the crowd and everybody sip their little liquor and they're ready. and we would play all the up tempo tunes, Madness, and all these songs, what the latest soca hits and things. And then at about 1:30, I would say, all right, I won't torture all anymore. And we start Haiti in the middle of Carnival every night. That was the song people were waiting for.
Wow.
No, you can't believe that now, because if you go to a party now, everything is bam, 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 high speed, and But that was when soca was just mellow and powerful, and people came to hear Haiti. And the reason why that happened, I think, too, is 2 weeks after that song was released, they kicked Baby Duck out of Haiti, and it was all over the news. Everything was Baby Duck out of Haiti, and when and the conversation was like, how you know that was going to happen? I said, no, it's not about knowing it's going to happen. It's just that it happened that way. That's the rhythm of how my life has always gone. So it just so happened that Baby Duck left Haiti at the same time, and the whole world was focused on Haiti. And then when that cooled down in December, Manuel Noriega raised up a silver cutlass and said, tell George Bush Sr., come on, bring it on. And the Americans went into Panama. So people started to play Panama. And all the steel bands played Panama for Panorama. So much so that a journalist called it Panorama. And then for Carnival into January, they started to play Bacchanal Lady. And just as Carnival is over, was the cricket in the West Indies. And they started to play Rally. And then in May, a DJ called Phil Simmons, he started to play the Engine Room. So it's like a Jumbie album. All the events took place and sort of just fell in the lap of the music. It was strange. And all these songs today is still like brand new,
Very much so. If you're now joining us, welcome to Conversations with the Artists. We are chatting with the man, the maestro, David Rudder, representing Trinidad and Tobago. Mr. Rudder, Calypso music, another song that I cannot, it's just so infectious. Share with me the writings of this song.
Well, that came about because the year before, I had won the crown in Trinidad. The Calypso Monarch, the Young Kings, the Road March first and second. So there was this feeling that I came to represent a change in the Calypso, right? With this new music I bring in, which is not Calypso to other people. So what the people every day I would hear, what he know about Calypso? We gonna get him next year, and So I'm a Taurus, so the bull in me say, so that's what they think. So I kind of I think all my energy I just focus on writing a song. Just to say, in case you feel I don't know about Calypso, I know about Calypso. I have been correcting your lyrics because one thing we used to do as background vocalists in the studio, something like Calypso, I bring in a song, and you might say, why don't say this instead of that? Because the song is more effective. And they say, yeah, boy, you're right. So I figured I knew enough about writing music and writing lyric, and I've been in the music for such a long time that I could answer them. So Calypso music was the answer for them, And the only thing I don't know where it came from is the opening line of the song. I don't know where that came from, but up to the day people argue about it being they're trying to say find an opening line to beat to match it. But can you hear a distant drum bouncing on the laughter of a melody? I don't know where that comes from.
Wow.
I just let it be, you know. But that's how I knew the song was ready to go on. And the musicians played with a kind of energy. There are so many drums, and like Jaja played drums on it. There's so many musicians play on that record. All to be bunks because it's only 24 tracks, you know. But if you hear the amount of things inside of that, you can't hear it with the ear just like that. But it's more to feel it. You know, I think the feeling it is the thing. But the amount of rhythms and things went in it. Everybody was like probably thinking like me. They want to hear about calypso music. Let me show them calypso music. And so the power of that song, it was the roots planted so deep. That's what I do with all my songs. I say, if you just drop a seed, it might catch, it might not catch. But if you plant a seed, if you plant it deep, it takes a little time to catch for people. But when it surfaces out of the earth, the root is permanent. It holds that tree steady and strong, you know. And that is calypso music, right? That's a metaphor.
Well, let's take a listen. Calypso music.
Can you hear a distant drum bouncing on the laughter of a melody? And does the rhythm tell you come, 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 come? Does your spirit do a dance to this symphony? Does it tell you that your heart is higher? Oh yeah. And does it tell you that your pain is higher? Oh yeah. Does it wash away all your unlovely? Well, are you ready for a brand new discovery? Calypso, calypso, calypso music. Yeah, yeah. Calypso, calypso, calypso music. Singing, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, calypso. Singing, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, calypso.
Sweet music. David Rudder. If you listen the music, you can hear the music, you can feel it. Wow. And it still sounds fresh.
Yeah. I even played drums on that and all.
Really?
The Brazilian Quaker. That's me playing. So, you know,
Wow.
so I was even part of that part of the creation and all, you know. Not just creating the song, but the arrangement, and it came from far.
Share with us one of your most memorable moments in performing or just touring.
Ah, boy, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Glastonbury was special. That's a big festival in England. The headliner that night was Susan Vega. She had a song called "My Name Is Luca" about a child being abused and so on. But they put me on to open, and I think that was a problem because people started saying, "We want the calypso guy." It's a chant, you know. So things didn't go so well with Susan. You know, sometimes these things happen.
True.
It happened in Barbados too. At the stadium, Gloria Estefan and Miami Song Machine, and I opened that show too. Well, the rest is history. You know, so sometimes these things happen, but those are things I remember. You know.
To be recognized around the world as one of the greats, I don't think you can go anywhere and people not know who David Rudder is.
Oh, you'll be
How does that make you
surprised. You'll be surprised. Like my son actually just put up a thing on Facebook. He's saying people meet him and say, "Where's your does your father still sing?" You know, so that's right. So people, you see, the world is a 5 second world now. Eh? If you get somebody to concentrate for about 10, 15 seconds, you've done well. You know, it's an instant world now with this computer age. You know, so there are many places who they might know my music and they don't know who it is. You know, so there's still a lot of a room to people to captivate and to bring into the fold, so to speak.
Fair enough. Fair enough. The song "The Hammer." Share with us.
Well, that was the band leader for my favorite band called the Desperados. The leader was a man called Rudolph Charles. Some people call him the Hammer. People call him Trail. Some people call him the Dragon. But when he passed away, Pelham and I decided. Pelham said, "Let's do one for the Hammer." I said, "Who's the Hammer? Who's the Hammer?" He said, "That's one of Rudolph Charles' names, you know." So I said, "Well, did they call him any other name?" They say he called him Dragon. They call him Trail. You know, there's a movie called Walk Like a Dragon. You know, and people like who grew up, especially in the roots of society, the main form of entertainment when I was growing up was the movie houses. So we go and watch all these Western movies and movies. There's a movie called Walk Like a Dragon, and that's how they saw Rudolph as this tall, lumbering leader, walking like a dragon. So he had the name Dragon. So I said, you know what? When I decided to put lyrics to this song, and I said, you know, I wouldn't call his name. I wouldn't call Rudolph Charles' name. I'll call the nickname. So that's why I call this name, the song The Hammer. And then the Dragon Don't Walk the Trail. So all the nicknames were used. The Dragon Don't Walk the Trail no more. I never said Rudolph Charles, you know. I think just at the end I said Charlo to end the song. But I used the nicknames as the catalyst for driving the song along in that kind of lyrical energy, you know.
Well, let's take a listen. The Hammer.
Somewhere up in Laventille, many years ago, a man had a hammer, used to follow him to and fro. He used to use it to pong a pan, or sometimes a stupid man, all in the savannah, never miss panorama. One day the old hammer just disappeared. Oh, some say that it vanished into thin air. Are we the man with the hammer gone? Tell me where he gone. Anybody know where the hammer gone? Tell me where he gone. Can you tell me what's going on? Tell me where he gone. I want to know where the hammer gone. Tell me where he gone. Why you up and leave? Dread. Why you make me grieve? Dread. Hammer tell me flat. Dread. Why you do with that? Dread. Oh Lord. Well the dragon don't walk the trail no more. Well the dragon don't walk the trail no more.
Stories you're hearing about the songs, you may have sung, you know, sing along with the songs and party to these songs, but to actually hear the real stories behind the songs and the meaning behind these songs, I hope that you guys are really appreciating this episode of our conversations with the artists. Mr. Rudder, in 2005 you were conferred with the Doctor of Letters from UE in Trinidad. When you received that call, what was that feeling like to be honored?
I felt like I guess when a little more, but a little stronger, I guess. But like when I was given the Hummingbird Medal Silver from the president of Trinidad and Tobago, it's Noor Hassan Ali. I felt quite honored. It was almost like another extension of the fact that the people of the Caribbean chose Rally Round the West Indies as the anthem for the team. It felt like that. It felt like if that was the other half of the of the cake. You know, that I got honor from the people across the island, and now the people across the island on the intellectual level are saying, thanks for what you've done so far and what you still have to do. You know, we hear you, we appreciate you, and you know that is paramount in my spirit. You know that it tells me that I haven't done anything wrong. I've done everything right. That's how I feel.
Fantastic. Let's move on now to another song. This one, I think, is very dear to Trinidadians, but as a DJ, I've seen this song play in fests. And even if you're not a Trinidadian, you're singing to this song, this track called Trini to the Bone.
I was not going to say, what is that song you're talking about?
I've seen it for myself. I've been to St. Lucia. I've been to, obviously Barbados and other Caribbean islands and play.
Yeah.
And when this song comes on, loud and clear, people are singing Trini to the Bone.
Yeah, the interesting thing about this song is that if I've done 99 songs, 100 songs, I've done about 98 of my own and 2 of someone else. And that was one of them. You know, that was written by a man called Ian Wilshire. I said that he asked me if I would sing this song. So I said, on one condition, I could take this song and do what I want with it to get the best out of it. And he agreed, and the rest is history. But that's one of the few songs that is not my writing. You know, it was his song.
Well, it's still your writing because you took what was there and you made it your own. So it's still some of your writings in there. But I get what you mean.
Yeah. But the thing about it is that people I just let people know that I didn't write this song. You know?
Well, let's take a listen. Trini to the Bone.
Islands in the sun, islands in the fun. Welcome one and all to the land of death. Trini to the bone, Trini to the bone. When they come to Bacchanal, well, they can't beat we at Trini to the bone, Trini to the bone. Sweet woman parade abundantly. The brethren, they full of energy. Some people say God is a Trini. Paradise are not convincingly. God gave us a spirit fiery. But nothing in the world will bother we. But look a smart man gone with great money. We still come out and mash up the party. Sweet, sweet TNT. Oh, how I love of this country. Sweet, sweet TNT. No place in this world I'd rather be. Sweet, sweet TNT. Oh, how I love of my country. Sweet, sweet TNT. All this sugar can't be good for me.
All this sugar can't be good for me. The voice of Mr. David Rudder. Sir, I want to thank you once again for spending this time with us right here on Conversations with the Artists. Advice for young creatives like yourself. What would you tell them from your history and what's happening now?
Don't give up. Absorb information. Check everything around here. Listen to the ground. Listen to what people have to say. Listen to the news. Listen to the madmen. You know. And I always tell youngsters, it took me 21 years to become an overnight success. You know, everybody know David Rudder suddenly in 86, but that was my 21st year in the business. You know, and if you're young and you falter, you can always dust off and come again. But when you get older and you fall, you might be able to get back up. You know, so listen, learn, and you'll be surprised to know how absorbing knowledge helps the creative process, because it is bouncing people's vibes back at them in a sweet way. That's what it really is at the end of the day. You know,
You've heard it from the maestro.
even in these days of anger, you know.
You've heard it from the
Even these
maestro himself. He's sharing the knowledge. So, guys, stick with it, learn, read, pay attention, and really create that music. The final song, Mr. Rudder, like you said before, you know, it became the anthem of West Indies cricket. When the boys are doing well, even when they are down and out, even when the light is looking very dim, this song just inspires not only the cricketers, but also those in the Caribbean. Share with us the writing of this song.
It was listening to people in this stadium talking about bad mouthing our heroes, you know. Their time is coming to an end, because you can't be ruling the world for 20 years and not get fatigued. And time takes care of you in that way. Say, listen, boss, it's time to kind of make a move. But because we weren't winning as we used to be, it was getting tougher. They started to have grumblings. I'm listening to everybody, and people grumbling, and wait, they should drop here, and why they pick this one and that one. And I said to myself, you know, this is the time when we have to sort of, yes, we have to look for new talent, but at the same time, this is not how we treat our heroes, you know. And that's how I reacted by writing that song. Now and forever, because heroes will come, heroes will go. And once we treat them with that kind of respect and love, they will play better. They play better for you know, even in these times where everything is the mighty dollar, something deep inside wants them, compels them to be the best they can be. And even look at the team now. Even though we don't have the talent of the days of Richards and Lara and so on, they're working hard. You know, they're doing it. So stick with them. Stick with them. And I know most of the people who are grumbling will never leave supporting the West Indies, but they have to vent their frustration. I understand that. You know, it happens to me sometimes and all. But at the end of the day, they represent us, and they are as strong as we are. So if we want them to get stronger, we too have to get stronger. You know?
I like that. If we want them to be stronger, we also have to be stronger. Mr. Rudder, thank you so much for spending the time with us right here on Conversations with the Artists. It really was a pleasure.
It's my pleasure.
And on that note, we will play the final song, Rally Round West Indies. And until next time, please be careful, please be safe. That has been Conversations with the Artists.
For 10 long years, we ruled the cricket world. Now the rule seems coming to an end. But